This is the Nintendo Players Podcast, episode 15. I'm Jen. I'm the co-founder of Nintendo North Wales, and I'm co-head admin of Nintendo Players UK. Today I'm interviewing special guest Sean Chiplock. Sean, welcome to the show. Would you like to introduce yourself properly?
No, I would not. I'm so terrified every time I have to do this because it's like, am I going to do it correctly? Am I going to brag too much about myself? But hello, everyone. My name is Sean Chiplock. I go online by either Sonic Mega if you're looking at my Twitch, or VA Sonic Mega if you're looking at my Neopets account, because I know that's where everyone is looking for this. It's true. You can add me on Neopets. I need more friends on there. But also Twitter as well. And I'm happy to say that I am a professional voice actor who has been doing it full time since about 2013, 2015, and has been incredibly blessed and lucky to be a part of so many different franchises, whether it's stuff like The Legend of Zelda for Nintendo, as you may know, as the voices of Rivali, Teba, the Great Deku Tree, the Rito Sage, um, voicing in different animes such as Super Natsuki and ReZero, Guido Mista and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, being a part of, I mean, I've been a part of different consoles all over the place. PlayStation on God of War, obviously Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and Age of Calamity for Nintendo. Have I been on something on Xbox yet? I don't know if I've broken ground on Call of Duty. Maybe that's the next
That's your
play. Like
future
that's
goal.
always got to stay hungry for new accomplishments.
Yeah. So, what about your background? What was your original story like? What led you to all of those opportunities?
So ironically, I did not grow up as one of those theater kids who was like living, breathing Shakespeare and doing plays. I think most of my involvement in stage plays ended around the end of middle school. And the college that I went to did have a theater program, which I auditioned for and didn't get into. So I am the successful failure, I guess you could say. Um, a lot of my background was really kind of tied to where my passions were. When I was in high school, voice acting was a total random discovery. It was just something that I came across during a Christmas break in my junior year. And when I discovered it, I immediately became attached. I was like, listen, I know jack all about this right now, but I want to learn more about it. I just want to find out what it's all about. Um, but when it came to my majors and my minors in college, since I didn't want to make my entire life about theater just in case. Because remember, by the time I was going to college, I was like a year and a half into this hobby of mine. And I didn't know yet if I wanted to make it a full-time career, if my heart was in it as much as I thought it was. So I opted instead for taking things that were tangentially related to the career, but that still gave me an option to try out different things and see like if I was taken off in a different direction along the way. So my major was film, video, and media studies. That wasn't a triple major. It was just called film, video, media studies, so that I could learn about the technology being used in the industry, about how it developed over time, about the types of processes that were used in, whether it was producing a show or producing a live action movie or producing a game or something like that. Um, Even TV film scripting was one of the classes that I took so that I could understand like how people wrote characters to make interesting stories so that I could understand what makes a character interesting in the first place. Kind of more on the production side, not just the performance side. And then my minors were Japanese, journalism, and psychology. Before people put the weeaboo card on me, the reason why I took Japanese was because I had already done about 3, 4 years of Spanish leading up to it, and I was sick of Spanish. I was like, I'm done, okay? I need something else. So I decided to take Japanese, not so much for the language, but for the culture courses, because I was like, if I can understand the the references to Japanese culture that often happen in JRPGs, especially, and also anime, then it will make it easier for me to understand when I'm trying to think of what the word is, when translation specialists convert those into jokes that will be better understood by English audiences. I will understand what their basis is. But even if they are not changing them, if it's like, well, we just hope audiences get the joke, then I will understand where that reference is coming from and I can give a more authentic performance. There was credibility to me being all Japanese minor in my college career. Um, and then psychology was a no-brainer. It was no matter what career we do, we're going to have to work with other people. So understanding how people think, how they work, and especially how different people think in different ways can make it easier to be a person that others want to work with. Journalism, I'll admit, was kind of a, hey, do I have room to throw in a third minor just for shits and giggles? And I did, and then I found out journalism was not working out for me. So to save my GPA and my sanity, I dropped it right before I was done with it. But the others followed all the way through, and to this day, I think all of them have served me in various different ways.
Well, it's nice to hear that your education's actually played a part in your chosen career then. It doesn't often
Right.
happen for us lot, but yeah, fair enough. So going slightly off topic, I've got a couple of member questions. So they want to know what your first ever Nintendo console was.
What my first ever Nintendo console was?
Hmm.
It has to be a tie between a standard Game Boy and a Nintendo Entertainment System. I actually never owned an SNES. I went straight from NES to Nintendo 64, and then Game Boy basically covered for me in the in-between. The reason why I don't quite recall which came first is because I feel like they both happened at the same time. Like I think my dad owned a Nintendo Entertainment System that later got handed down to me, and then I had the Nintendo or the Game Boy. And the Nintendo Entertainment System, I was playing things like Mega Man 6, The Legend of Zelda 2, Link's Adventure, RBI Baseball, if anyone remembers that. Um, and the Game Boy was pretty standard fare. It was Tetris, it was The
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, it was your beginning Pokemon games. But I'm saying like this was so long ago that if you offered me $100 to distinctively define which one came first, I'd have to pass it up because I don't know for sure. They just pretty much came in tandem. Um, and it was like that for most of my life, where it went from Game Boy to Game Boy Color to Game Boy Advance. I think I skipped the original. What was it? The first one that had backlighting. It was the not Pocket. SP, I think it was called.
Yeah.
And I basically jumped from the Game Boy Advance to the DS and then onwards. And then with Nintendo consoles, it was Nintendo 64, to the Wii, to the Wii U, or I'm sorry, to the GameCube, to the Wii, to the Wii U, to the Nintendo Switch. All straightforward. But yeah, I think that about defines it.
It's similar for me. I missed the GameCube out there.
I didn't end up changing or picking up other consoles until I was doing QA testing for NIS America shortly after I moved out to California, or about a year after I moved out, because that's what introduced me to the PlayStation Vita, because of all the first of all the fact that they were making the new model and retiring the old, which I felt had better graphical quality overall, and just the games that it introduced me to, which also deepened my love for the first person dungeon crawler genre. And that slowly expanded where I added on the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4. But I would say the Nintendo Switch single-handedly kind of flipped me back to being a Nintendo boy overall, just because of the portability. The Steam Deck has kind of threatened to encroach on that space. I just haven't made the leap to purchase it yet. But I will say this, if Nintendo finally bites the bullet, whether it's on this console or the next one, and gives us access to GameCube games, especially games like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, it's over. It's over for everybody else. I'm going to go straight on to being a handheld guy.
Fair enough. So overall of your consoles, have you got an ultimate favorite game?
An ultimate favorite game, it comes in waves. Like there was a time where Pokemon Mystery Dungeon was all I would touch. Etrian Odyssey has been a huge thing, except now I've reached a point because of my streams where I'm caught up on all Etrian Odyssey games. Like I've done everything that there is to do. So unless they come out with a new one, it kind of halts me to be like, well, my favorite game is a game that I literally have no reason to play anymore. You know what I mean? That's part of why I'm wishing that Nintendo would port Sonic Adventure 2 to the Nintendo Switch, because like technically yes, I could play it on Steam right now, maybe on a Steam Deck, but I have no progress on it and I would rather have it on a Switch. In the meantime, I don't want to be sitting in front of my laptop every time I want to play Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which doesn't even register the controller that I want it to register. So, there's
Fair
that
enough.
problem. Right, and I've already heard from people that it doesn't play nice with the Steam Deck, so I'm SOL there as well. Um, Outside of that, I've always been a really big fan of some of the spin-off Mega Man games. Mega Man Battle Network, which I'm now streaming the entire Battle Network collection from. Mega Man Legends, which is a classic piece of my heart, not only from how charming it was, but now as a voice actor, I've come to appreciate how good the performances were for a game that old, from that era where voice acting was often an afterthought. So it changes from time to time, but there's always going to be something from my childhood that I'm grateful I have access to in the modern day.
Right. Yeah. So back to voice acting. What has been your favorite project so far?
So a lot of people have asked me what my favorite project is, and what I tell them is this is not a cop-out answer, but I deal a lot with envy, jealousy, imposter syndrome, stuff like that. And I feel like what a lot of people and even a lot of colleagues don't realize is and there's any number of people that can do our jobs. Like just straightforward. There wouldn't be thousands, if not tens of thousands of actors in Los Angeles alone if this wasn't a career that pretty much anyone with proper training and effort and practice could accomplish, you know? So anytime that I book a job, the first thing that registers in my head is this is a job that at least 15, 20, 50 other people auditioned for, and you're the one that got it. So you should be grateful for the fact that you got the chance to play in this world, especially if it's a character that I fell in love with the moment that I saw the audition sides, which is pretty common at this point. Now that my agency understands what characters I do well with and have fun with, I kind of get those audition
Yeah.
sides a lot. So it's very rare that I get an audition side where I'm like, I don't care for this guy. I don't know what I'm gonna do for him. Um, so my honest answer is I find something to appreciate about all of them, whether it is a character that I knew that I had a kinship with and was going to knock out of the park, whether it was a character that I surprised the client with, and now it's a chance to showcase to others that I have an even bigger range than they thought I did, which is getting harder and harder as more people are discovering my range. There's something to everything. And the other reason for that is because I never want to fall into a sort of complacency, or I guess I don't want to say bitterness, but I don't ever want it to get to a point where it's like my favorite role that I've ever done is
Yeah.
insert a role that is literally 6, 7, 8 years old at this point. When it's like with all of the jobs that I've had the chance of doing, isn't it kind of like harmful if none of those jobs have managed to pique my interest the way that something I did 8 years ago did? Like that concerns me. So
That's
that
fair.
that's why I just tell people I'm always looking to be surprised. I want there to be something every year that I'm like, this was one of my favorites and this is why, but I want it to be a constant cycle as well.
Great. So back to a member question. I've had a member ask you if you would like to do a Great Deku Tree voice for them.
Unfortunately, now this is interesting because there are lots of cases where I am asked to do quotes or stuff as various characters I've played, and generally, as long as it's not demeaning, derogatory, racist, sexist, that kind of stuff, I figure the company is not going to hate me if I do it. Nintendo is like that one exception where they are very, very, very clear about their ownership of the projects and the characters that they create or publish or stuff like that. So I'm not going to say that they're meanie heads, just that they are kind of on the same level of Disney, where it's like, hey, listen, we have specific ways that we want these characters to be represented, and we are not going to give you we just don't want to give you the freedom to do that. Do I think they would take me to court and sue me if they saw that I did an unofficial character voice? Probably not. What's more likely is that they would just make note of it and then never work with me ever again because I can't be trusted to listen to what
Not
they
worth the
request.
risk. Yeah.
Right,
Fair
right.
enough.
So it's that's that trade-off that we make. I am so grateful to be able to I mean, when we think about the first time that I voiced for Nintendo, which was a canon voiced iteration of a franchise people are intimately familiar with having no voices at all. That was a huge responsibility. And I'm so glad that I was entrusted with that kind of responsibility, which is also why I don't want to ruin it in case they ever want to bring me back for other first party games. So, yeah, my official answer to that is unfortunately, I can't, but I am so grateful that you enjoyed my performance so much that you want to hear me say other stuff in that character voice. And I certainly won't turn down the chance to come back if those characters ever return in a future installment.
Fair enough. Okay, so out of all the projects you've done or not done, are there any that you've had to turn down?
There is one that I was cast as that I ultimately chose to turn down just because of my understanding of how the environment was at the time. People now know me as the voice of Lucilius in Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, but that wasn't the first time I was cast in that project. I was originally booked for the role of Ladiva, who I don't know if you're familiar with that character, is a very, I don't know if they're gender neutral or if they're a cross dresser or what their official title is, but as I learned more about the character, I realized that they identified in a way their gender expression did not align with my own. And that's not something that I found offensive, but I was like, hey, you know what? Now that I know more about this character and knowing my portfolio, I feel like this is a role I don't necessarily need to take. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
need the money. I want there to be a chance for better representation for this character. And I felt like I had a close enough relationship with the studio that I was able to reach out to them and go, hey guys, this is my fault. I should have done more research into the character ahead of time. I just don't feel comfortable taking this because I would hate for either myself to give a performance that makes it feel like the character is being unfairly represented or is being, treated like a joke or a parody or something like that. Um, but also, I would hate for it to backlash on me if people go, well, why is Sean, of all people, taking a role like this when he doesn't identify like that? So, no harm was done all around. The studio was totally understanding. I ended up passing the role off. I made some suggestions for talent I knew that would better represent that character. I don't recall offhand who they ended up going with, but I know that I at least made the effort. And down the road, I ended up getting to voice a character who technically has 3 different iterations. So, the gamble paid off. I turned down one and I booked 3 in his stead. So
Amazing.
win-win all around.
Cool. So, you must have some upcoming projects you're excited about. Can you tell us about one of them? We've seen a
Well,
recent tweet.
yes. Okay. So my initial answer is going to be, well, if it's an upcoming project, 99.9% of the time, I can't talk about it because it's not public knowledge yet. Because trust me, like that's why I tell people to follow my Twitch or my Twitter or my Discord community because I am chomping at the bit to get to talk about stuff that I'm working on. I'm literally just waiting for a trailer that has my voice in it so I can email the client and go, hey, can I talk about this now? Here's proof. It's a public post. Can I talk about it, please? And even then, sometimes you get companies that go, no, we want to release the cast on our own schedule. Sit down. And I'm there going, um, but yes, the tweet that you're mentioning is for Duck Detective, which I didn't realize was making bigger waves than I thought. Like, first of all, I didn't know that it was coming to Nintendo Switch. That caught me by surprise. So I like retweeted and, made that joke post about this is the first time I've ever voiced a bird on a Nintendo game or a Nintendo console ever, which even then I was surprised how big that tweet got. But yes, I'm excited to talk about that because that is a role that I specifically scheduled after I woke up. Like literally, I would ask to schedule it for like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I would get up, and then while my voice still kind of had that morning grunge, like that natural morning grunge, it doesn't sound right now. I literally manipulated my throat sounding groggy so that I could come in and be like, all right, let's do this recording. And it is a voice I would not be able to do once I'm fully woken up and hydrated and stuff like that. And I just think it's so funny that I had to manipulate my throat in that way and make use of a certain timing in order to get the character voice, but it's so good as a result. So I hope
Looking forward
people
to
enjoy
seeing
it if
more
they play
about
through
that.
it. It's unlike anything anyone typically hears from me because it's such a limited window that I can do it. And I hope that that entertains people as a result.
Yeah, look forward to hearing more about it. Right, so have you got any tips for people wanting to get into the voice actor scene?
The main things that I suggest to people are I want to be a voiceactor.com. Literally, that's what it's called, is I want to be a voiceactor.com. There's 2 major online communities. There's the Voice Acting Club. There's also the Casting Call Club. So the VAC and the CCC. And then other resources, there's Julia Bianco Scheffling has a book called The Art of Voice Acting for Video Games. There's Voice Over Voice Actor by Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt. There's Voice Acting Mastery, which is Crispin Freeman's website. And there's multitudes, so many multitudes of online workshops available now, either from different hosts, individual hosts, or agencies, or groups like Bang Zoom or Studiopolis or VoiceOver Camp or VoiceOver Network. Like, just join one of the 2 communities that I mentioned, and I guarantee you, you will be inundated with resources and intelligence from other colleagues about suggestions for gear or workshops that are coming up, or people looking to sell their spots if they can't make one. Like, I, just start there. Like, Google isn't even your biggest friend anymore. It's these communities. So that is my recommendation.
Get connected, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Brilliant. So thanks for coming on to our show today and thanks for talking to me. Where's the best place for people to find you if they're looking to follow you?
Like I said, best places to follow me would be Twitter, which is VA Sonic Mega. I technically have an Instagram, but I just don't use it. I just don't. Blue Sky is just Sonic Mega without the VA. Twitch is just Sonic Mega. And I don't know, is this going live like right after this, or is it coming live
No,
on a future
different
date?
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in general, Fridays through Tuesdays, I try to stream in the afternoon starting at about 5 p.m. over on Twitch, and it's all sorts of games. We've got Tail Concerto happening right now. We did Super Mario RPG. We're doing Mario versus Donkey Kong. At some point, I'm going to do I'm going to do Trails into Reverie. We've got the Mega Man Battle Network collection. It's a live dub of the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney series. It's basically a mix of stuff that interests me and stuff that interests you. So,
Fair enough. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. I hope you've enjoyed it.
yeah, thanks for having me.